Hey, welcome back to Hobbies with Jose, everybody. And you know what time it is? It's Jazzin time. Welcome back to Hobbies with Jose, everybody. So good to have you back. Now today we're finally going to start customizing our Studio Series 8601 Jazz and hopefully give them some upgrades in the process. But as always, let's talk a little bit about what we'll be doing to hopefully achieve that. Now, as I did mention in my review, which hopefully you got a chance to check out, this figure has essentially two major problems. One of them being the severe amount of gappage in the arms and the upper legs too. And the second item just being an overall lack in decals to complete the look in both robot and vehicle mode. Thankfully though, I do have a plan. Now here we have a couple of third-party arm and leg fillers that I picked up off eBay. Don't exactly remember which companies, but they were pretty decently priced. I've been asked why I didn't pick up the DNA design kit instead, and that kit just comes with so many other accessories for other figures that I just won't be using that this seemed a lot more reasonable to me. And here we have one of the arm filler pieces. It's very clearly 3D printed. You can hear the ridges on the side, but overall it's very well designed and printed. I will just have to be careful when handling it though, because this side is extremely thin. Now the fist is supposed to be holding this peg while it's in vehicle mode, but I think I'm gonna just leave the piece out just to prevent breakage. Yeah, it fits under pretty good too. And I do like how it continues the panel designed all the way across. Now I may just sand it down a bit to get rid of the ridges, but overall I think it's gonna work out pretty good. And here we have one of the inside leg pieces. This one I can't tell if it's 3D printed. It doesn't seem to be. I can't feel any ridges on it. I could also be mistaken, but it looks like it might be even painted on this side too. It's got a bit of an extra gloss to it. Now this one I'm not going to pop in all the way as it seems like it's going to be a one-way trip, but looks like it's going to be a really good fit. And lastly, I also bought this third-party decal set. Now even though it says stickers, it's definitely water slide decals. But the interesting thing about this set though is that even though it has the Hasbro and the Authentic Transformers logo, I'm not convinced it is authentic. It did come from China and the retailer took forever to ship it. I even had to email them to remind them. But thankfully I do have it in hand, so let's take a closer look. So it looks like you get a main sheet and two additional little sheets here. One of these though I think is to fix an issue with the main sheet. Now looking at this piece here, which is going to go over one of the rear wheels, you can see that these two light blue lines are printed just a little bit off, and that's where one of the extra sheets comes in. It's actually printed perfectly, so I am definitely glad they included that. Thankfully, everything else seems to be printed excellently. We've got a couple of front grille pieces to recreate the original look. This one's printed a little bit lower than this one. I'm not sure why they did that, but we'll have to maybe test them both out and decide if I'm even going to use these. I'm not entirely sure. And some proper updated pinstriping for, I think it's the hood or the top of the car. I'm not entirely sure. Various logos and symbols. I can't wait to use them all. And also a couple different options for the Autobot symbol too. I'm really glad they included that. These black lines are for the rear windows, which I may end up painting instead. I'm not entirely sure. Even more Autobot symbol options. Very nice. And we also have some decals for the rear lights, which were not painted on the figure. I may actually end up painting mine, so I don't think I'll be using these. And some pinstriping for the sides of the vehicle. Here we have some decals that are going to go over the rear spoiler, and they're already properly shaped for Studio Series 2, which I love that. Black borders for the other windows too. Again, I may end up painting them instead, not entirely sure. We even get what looks like some decals for bot mode too. I think this is to recreate the original G1 toy. I might be mistaken though, but that's a good option. Now these two are obviously the door decals. They have the white background to cover up the existing 14 that's on the figure. Now this actually did worry me a little bit since we're going to be stripping the paint and getting rid of the 14. I kind of didn't want to have the white background. Thankfully this decal set thought of that too, which they provide an extra sheet with just the 4 and the Martini logo. That is awesome. So I'm very much looking forward to using this decal sheet. It looks like the quality is very good. But these actually aren't the only changes that we'll be making to Jazz. I also mentioned in my review that I wasn't too happy with the details added to the bottom of the feet. They do take away from the look in vehicle mode as they're supposed to become the back bumper. So I'm simply going to fill these in with putty and just try to get them as smooth as possible. I'm going to try and do the same thing with the weapon as well and try to fill in these little gaps that it has in different areas. Apart from that, since I don't plan on pegging it onto the back, I'm going to get rid of these side pegs as well. I think that's pretty much it for the improvements that we're going to try to make on Jazz. For now, let's go ahead and try to get them as disassembled as possible. And now we've got Jazz completely disassembled, or as disassembled as we're going to get them. A couple of tricky parts as always. I wasn't quite sure how the front grille was going to separate, but there are a couple of screws holding it together behind, so it just comes off straightforward. Unfortunately, I was unable to disassemble the rest of the piece as everything else is pretty much littered with the white pins, and I don't really want to touch those. But it's no big deal really, we'll just have to work around certain pieces. And of course, two very crucial pieces that make up the top of the vehicle are completely clear plastic. Now, because they do have so many hinges and other connections tied to them, I don't want to make them any weaker than what they already are by stripping the plastic. I will go ahead and clean them up a little bit, but I'm just going to paint right over them. But as for the rest, let's get that paint strip. We're going to let them soak here for about an hour and come back and check on them then. So we now have all of our pieces cleaned up with some all-purpose cleaner and warm soapy water, and I'm going to give these about a day to fully dry off. But there's a few pieces that I went ahead and dried off right now, and that's these pieces here. I'm going to go ahead and fill in those gaps with some putty and those third-party fillers that I bought. Well, at this point we got quite a bit done today. We did go ahead and fill in various peg holes and just some empty spaces with putty and with our third-party kit. I'm now going to let everything dry, and when we come back next week, we'll go ahead and sand down the putty nice and smooth and start priming our figure. Plus, we should be able to start adding some color as well, so hopefully you can join me for that. You can catch all my updates on social medias, links are down below. And feel free to join my Discord too, where we just had our first Transformers trivia night. So a big shout out to King444 Dino for being the trivia champ. You can check out King Dino's own Discord and follow him on Twitter. All of those links are down below as well. Congrats, King! You can also catch me on my gaming streams on Twitch, where we just recently finished Red Dead Redemption 2. Fantastic ending, but we're not done yet. We're still playing through the prologue a bit. And if you don't have Twitch, no problem. You can catch the replays on my second YouTube channel, Hobbies with Jose Gaming. Alright, but thank you all so much for watching, and if you like what you saw, you know what to do. Take care, everyone.